was wondering which chapter of Genesis did you find most strange, interesting, and or surprising?
Well, there's some that are strange and interesting and puzzling because they don't make any sense. There's other ones that are just horrendously violent and seem to have no moral to them at all, like when the sons of Jacob decide that because their sister has been taken by this guy of this one town, that they're going to kill all the men in that town. But they trick them. First they say, well, we'll intermarry with your people if you all get circumcised. So all the men get circumcised in the entire town of Shechem. And then while they're all convalescing, the sons come in and kill everybody. And at the end, Jacob says to them, to the sons, he reprimands them. He says, this thing you've done, you've made me odious in the eyes of all the people of this region. And if they decide to attack us, we're not that many. They'll kill us all. And the sons say to him, what? Our sister should be treated like a whore? And that's the end. These are the founders of the 12 tribes. We did this thing. So that's probably the ugliest chapter in Genesis. That's chapter 34. But then there's other puzzling, bewildering things like when Abraham pimps his wife Sarah to the Pharaoh of Egypt. And the Pharaoh and all his court gets sick, and he summons Abraham and says, take your wife and get her. Get out of here. And in the meantime, he gives him camels and slaves and gold, and Arab goes out of there feeling all cocky. He's got all this wealth from the Pharaoh through his wife. It doesn't make any sense in a modern way to people. What's the morality? What is it actually about? There's some scholarly explanations of what it's about. It's actually a garbled story that goes back to an earlier matriarchal situation in which you had these high priestesses it was a ceremony in which a man who was a priest king like the Pharaoh, or kind of like the Dalai Lama of Tibet, is a priest king, and he would prove his worthiness by sleeping with a marriage ceremony with the high priestess of the temple. And some people believe that there's some buried story like that in those kind of stories that don't make sense anymore. They think the original meaning got lost so long ago that it ends up garbled. There's a lot of stories like that in there too that kind of don't make sense in their form that they were handed down in. The original idea got lost somehow.
Our next question is to your left.
You've talked a lot about your artistic influences over the years, but there are words in your comics as well as pictures. And
yes.
I just wondered about who's influenced you as a writer over the years?
Writer? I don't know. It's hard to put literary influences on comics because, I was writer of comic dialogue and not very much narrative. But I read a lot. I started reading literature as I